Rust, a game that had gathered so much dust and cobwebs whilst in my Steam library. After launching it up for the first time on an official server, trying to gather some wood and stones to become a pro, I decided that the official servers were maybe not for me. But as I entirely lost hope after hitting the ground rock hard and losing all of my hard-earned stone and wood, somehow I got suddenly revived. I don't know if there was a Rust admin watching me or spectating me and just feeling pity and sorry for me because I was such a noob, and then decided to resurrect and respawn me, or if the Rust gods from above just decided to resurrect me as some kind of fallen angel. Somehow I came back to life without anybody helping me, and I still have no answers why. After being a repeated failure on Rust official servers, I decided to take the plunge and join a modded server with 10 times resources. Yeah, I'm that much of a noob, and I still have no clue how we can harvest meat from animals yet. I literally just killed this wolf in cold blood and I got nothing from it. To put things into a little bit of perspective, on normal Rust you get 6 to 10 pieces of wood every time you hit a tree. On modded servers I was getting anywhere from 100 to 200 pieces of wood per hit of a tree, ending up with around 2,000 pieces of wood per tree cut down, which is pretty crazy. This would prevent me rage quitting every time I got killed by some noob in game. It was at this stage that I ran into my first encounter with pure danger. In the distance, I could see another player looting around the map. I wasn't sure at this stage if he had some kind of gun or a bow, but it's safe to say that this was not going to end well for me. I tried to desperately construct a base somewhere on the mountain, but I didn't understand the building permission and mechanics of Rust, so I continuously tried to keep building the base when it clearly wasn't going to work. When the coast was clear, I ran across the road to the closest store of loots and barrels to try and get some quick materials to defend myself to construct my first base. This was actually a really risky thing to do. He could have come behind me at any moment and ambushed me, but me foolishly believed that I was not going to be spotted and I could just run away and take all the loot that I needed. I actually got really lucky with this first spawn that I had. I even looted a semi-automatic rifle the first time, which I actually looted a crate, which is pretty crazy. You can see the materials I have in my inventory right now are pretty decent, but this wouldn't last for very long, so let's just enjoy it while it lasts. Still not having any clear understanding of how the hunting system worked in Rust, I decided to try and shoot a boar and harvest some meat. Let's just say that my aim with a bow was not very good for a first time player. Yet again, I just killed this animal for no reason. I had no clue how to actually get the meat from it, so I just left it lying in the field. After feeling pretty confident about myself and all this great loot I had, I got ambushed by another player and lost everything immediately. This really reminded me why I never played Rust again when I first bought the game. Ironically, I also got killed by a player called Lil Uzi Vert, but he wasn't using an Uzi. Imagine calling yourself that on Rust, yet you use a rifle instead of an SMG. It was time to try a second time, but this time in the Arctic in the snow biome. This meant having to regather everything and farm resources again. Now you may realise why I'm playing on a modded server. So, after searching day and night to actually find a place where the game would let me build remotely anything, I managed to find this area where I could actually start constructing my first house. Luckily, since I was playing on a modded server, I had absolutely tons of materials, even armoured material and sheet metal, so I could make this base pretty strong at this point. So I just started upgrading everything and making the base as good as I could do. Yet, I completely forgot to realise that I hadn't actually created a door frame, so I was basically just locking myself in my own house at this point. So after making a campfire, making a tool cupboard, making some chests to store all my items, and making my nice humble abode, I was at a pretty good spot. Probably the furthest that I'd gotten so far, except when good things come about, they don't exactly last for long. I decided to finally demolish one of the sides of the wall so I could actually make a door in this house, because if you didn't know, in Rust, you have around 5 minutes or so to actually destroy a wall before you can't demolish it anymore. And then after that, it will probably take like 100 hits to destroy it, so at that stage, you're basically just locking yourself in your own house as a prison. I managed to make a door, but this was the only way out, so when trouble came round, there wasn't really exactly much of an exit for me. I could hear footsteps pattering outside my walls. This was not good. I decided to ready my bow and close the door because a fight was about to let loose. Okay, that didn't sound good. They were now on my roof, trying to break in from the top and from the side. I had surrounded myself in a panic with 3 different doors, layering my base into 3 different segments so they couldn't get in. For some reason they thought their cries for help and begging for food would make me trust them that they didn't want to just kill me, even though they were trying to literally break down my door as I tried to repair it.
We need food.
I was out of options. Let them linger and stay outside until they broke in, or go out and bring the fight to them.
Friendly.
Even after they clearly drew their bows, they still wanted to tell me that they were on my side. I decided to take matters into my own hands. They only had a bow, right? One with a spear and one with a bow, and if I crafted a gun, then surely I'd be the one to win. Little did I know that the Rust guns in early game are absolute garbage. Yeah, I didn't realise how to actually load the gun. Oh, that's how you do it. The first one was a warning shot, but they still weren't wavered by my opposing defense attacks, so I decided I was done with the bullying and oppression of these simple-minded Rust noobs. For some reason his friend had run off and abandoned him to be on his own, so I literally thought I could take him by myself. Turns out he wasn't exactly the worst with the bow, and I wasn't really any better with the gun either. And you guessed it, somehow I didn't win. I tried to respawn in a completely different biome out in the desert to avoid any kind of conflict. It wasn't long until I literally ran into a brand new fight versus a completely different opponent within seconds. Being completely hopeless at this stage and realising that wherever I go I literally always run into some kind of trouble and danger, I returned to my base, and to no surprise, the guy was outside my old base waiting for me for over 20 minutes just to try and murder me again with a bow. Really great guy, clearly has nothing better to do. As I was looting and exploring, I found a lone adventurer needing help upon the ground. Being the great guy that I was, I figured he was probably already dead or close to it, so I decided just to ransack his body for loot and put him out of his misery. Yeah, maybe this part was a little bit too much. And as for anyone who does anything remotely bad in life, well, karma was close behind and I was gonna have to repay that debt. Oh man. I found a safe hiding spot where I could make my new domain. This base would be my second and final base on this server, which would be far more secure, and unfortunately it would be destroyed the next day I logged in, but it would serve its purpose for now. But this time I had wised up. After having people immediately try and destroy my other bases beforehand, I decided the first thing which was wise to do was instantly upgrade every piece of wood in this house to make them noob-proof. This door proves that my IQ is substantially lower than I ever thought it was. Yeah, that door frame is not exactly going to work. It was time to bolster the defenses to make sure those foreign-speaking Rust noobs didn't return to my new base location. I brought a spear and a bow with me, just in case to protect me on my next harvesting run. I could swear that I heard noises of trees being knocked down and footsteps all around me, but at this point I just figured I was crazy and got back to farming resources. Yeah, I definitely regret that. This is not the last time that this guy would be a problem. As I was making upgrades to improve my defenses, he'd ran down the hill and found my secret base. Luckily I was quick enough and heard the sounds of him pattering down the hill and managed to quickly replace my roof.
Yeah, bro.
At this point, he was trying to be friends with me after he literally just put 2 arrows in my head just minutes before. I told him I had an AK when all I had was a bow, and surprisingly this actually worked and he never returned again. I saw a lone wanderer in the distance making waste of another player. I knew that I had to be careful and watch my step, but he saw me as I was crossing the street, so I immediately ran to the closest cover I could find, which was the truck. Now somehow I won this engagement when he had a shotgun and a pistol, and I was a noob with a bow. Probably one of my best achievements on Rust so far, if I'm honest. Oh my god, that's a bro moment right there. After looting him, this is when it hit me. I realized he had a double barrel shotgun and a revolver and somehow lost. He even had some wood armor, but I didn't realize that my health was super low and I couldn't heal myself in time. I was actually super paranoid at this point because I didn't actually understand until I watched the clip back that I actually just died of bleeding damage. I thought somebody sniped me from the distance, so I was really careful with just quickly looting as much as I could from the items I just acquired before I died. I've never raided a base on Rust, but I do have to say there was definitely a particular rush and good feeling about killing a better player with better loot and just getting tons of free stuff. Hehehe, all mine. As I returned with my newly acquired shiny weapons and loot, I saw someone else in the distance. Now, I originally thought this was yet another player looting someone. Little did I realize there's NPCs in Rust called scientists. I thought this was just a real player who was walking like a bot, but apparently this is an NPC or a bot controlled by the computer. I was literally tryharding so much in this fight and wondering why this person was so bad that he couldn't hit me with a fully auto weapon. I ran out of ammo, no arrows left. What would I do? There was a crate next to me on top of the car, and I had a magnum that would save me in my fight. 6 in the chamber, enough to finish who I thought was a really bad enemy player. It was this point that I hit a headshot and got a really nice shot off on the enemy player. And I went to loot him and I wondered, why on earth can I not loot him? Then I saw it said scientist and all he had was syringes. The weapon he'd been using to fire at me had simply turned into dust and it wasn't even a player, and I'd wasted all of my ammo and loot for nothing. Why won't you die? And that was my first adventure on Rust on a modded server. If you want to see another video of Rust, then like the video and leave a comment below telling me you enjoyed it, and I might bring out some more Rust videos on this channel. Now, unfortunately, I won't be doing a part 2 on this specific server because the following day which I logged on, I found my base had been completely destroyed and I was dead, even though I wasn't on the server. So I don't think we can carry on this particular journey, but I'd say it was a success. What do you think?